Hi there and welcome once again to the channel. And for those of you who are new, you may not be aware that yesterday we examined the predicament that the Conservative Party is faced with. That is the rapidly dwindling support for Boris amongst the Conservative Party members and the public at large. Now, as a direct result of a number of the requests we received to analyse the situation further, we've produced a brief insight into what it is those current MPs are concerned about, and honestly speaking, the results are quite startling and perhaps explains why Labour has hired their new strategist, former Gordon Brown advisor Deborah Mattinson, author of Beyond the Red Wall, which is a great book, by the way. But before we get started here, some of the things I'm going to say might perhaps be a little bit upsetting to some of you. I don't mean to say anything that's upsetting. I'm basing my opinion on my delivery of facts. I interpret the facts as I see them. So let's go. Now, we're all familiar that the red wall is now at the heart of politics. And this has been highlighted again by Keir Starmer's speech in his virtual conference there to the Labour Party, where he intimated quite clearly that Labour is now viewed by those in the North as a party of the South, and it's been seen to simply be pandering, for want of a better word, to degree holders with little or no life experience, or at least the life experience they've suffered up in the North. Now, in short, Labour has lost that vital connect with its industrial heartland of the North that, let's face it, there's no doubt has been devastated over the last 4 decades by an ever-decreasing manufacturing production facilities that they could at one time depend upon. Look, we know that Thatcher smashed the union movement during the 70s or 80s. Of that, there is no doubt, and some of the things she did were needed. However, what she failed to do, and what subsequent governments have failed to do, including the Labour Party, is introduce policies to replace those industries. Now, Labour adopted the approach of the same thing the Conservatives do, play the blame game, it's their fault. Though Blair, in fairness, did try to arrest that rhetoric, but as it worked for those Labour MPs to help retain their seats, they were happy to cling on to that policy. So rather than advocate the bold steps that needed to be made, they kept quiet. Now, education was the key, education is the key, and education will always be the key. However, the message that education is the best leveler of the opportunity playing field has not been pursued with enough vigor, which leaves us to where we are today. And let's face it, we are a totally divided society that seems hell-bent on self-destruction unless somebody faces the reality. Now, you think I'm wrong? Well, here's the plain truth, and please be warned, this is not pretty, and in my opinion, is in fact simply shocking. It's quite unbelievable. The ratio of degree takers in Ireland, and I use Ireland as an example because both nations are very similar in culture, both of us have the same sense of humour, both of us are much more loyal to our friends than they would, I would think, in continental Europe. At least that's my perception. I see the Irish and English, the only difference is our accent and football. You guys have England has a great football team. Ours is not so good. But in Ireland, 1 in every 3 students attending third level education comes from a disadvantaged area. In the UK, that figure is less than 1 in 5. And this social disaster is lauded as a sign of success in the government papers. I mean, seriously, guys? I mean, come on, like what's going on here? Ireland has 1 in 3, and it's looked down upon, and we need to do something about it. And in the UK, it's 1 in 5, and it's good. I mean, that's not right. The message for the Higher Education Authority is clear, it's unmistaken. 1 in 5 is good, but with education comes power and influence. And Deborah Mattinson referred to this anomaly in her book, The Red Wall. The people of the North want to see investment and are tired, and most understandably now, a little jealous of the riches being bestowed, as they see it, upon those in the South. In short, it's felt that those in the South, they think they just need opportunity, while those in the North think they need investment. This is a fundamental disconnect from a Labour point of view that has been ignored. And it's time to face some hard truths here and speak plainly to the voters. Because should Scotland leave the Union, the next election could be on an absolute knife edge. Now, we discussed in our video yesterday what could happen if Scotland left and how it would skew the figures in favour of the Conservatives. I have left a link to that in the description below, but let's really examine what could happen in the next election, okay? The first thing to realise is that 39 seats held by the Conservatives had a winning margin of less than 5,000 votes. Now, I've broken down the figures so to allow them to be more easily understood, because otherwise it's just a jumble. And as you can see, 11 of those marginal seats require a shift of less than 1,000 votes. And another 11 seats require a shift of less than 2,000 votes. Okay? Now, this means in layman terms that the Conservatives are by no means home and dry. If the Conservatives lost those seats and Labour won those seats, the Conservatives lose 22, Labour gains 22, that's a shift of 44. Now, amongst those, by the way, is Ian Duncan Smith, who had a majority of just less than 300. He had one of the slimmest majorities, yet he speaks like he's God. Now, Labour now need to be crystal clear in the message they are giving. Enough of the ambiguity. They also need to face up to past mistakes. They need to tell people of the North the truth. They need to tell them the educational system has been skewed against them and that Starmer is the man to fix it. Now, this will not detract from their support in the South, and it will not improve their, and it will improve rather their chances in the North. Now, I am not a big Labour supporter, nor am I a big Conservative supporter, but I do watch politics quite closely, and I've seen Labour fall, and the sheer fact that the Conservative parties got into power with Boris Johnson as a leader should really send warning signals out, you know. But when the Conservatives issue a policy statement, nobody pays attention because one, they know Boris is a liar, and two, the Conservatives' corrupt mainstream media buddies will twist the message anyway to suit their advertisers' readership profile requirements. It's not rocket science. Labour could partially depend perhaps on the Observer, but not fully, whereas the Conservatives can depend on the Mirror, on the Telegraph, you know, on the Express, etc. So in summary, Labour needs to man up and take the Conservatives head on and allow UKIP, who seem to have shifted their political attack protocols to going after the Conservatives rather than the Labour Party, and take advantage of that. Now, perhaps you have a different view, and if so, please feel free to comment. I do read them and I do reply whenever I can. But thanks for listening, and I look forward to seeing you on the flip side. Thank you.